Half spirit. Black mist poked and prodded my porch, trying to gain entrance without my permission. It was denser, thickening with each soul it swallowed, becoming more petulant and aggressive. Some of it looked like chocolate syrup with anger issues that ticked and clicked like a mantis. The immediate area around my house does not have any atmosphere because I decided against it. It keeps the noise level to a minimum. The only exception, the sound of a soft desert wind that I let filter into the house. Black mist makes this sound when it is calm, behaving like an ocean rolling and tumbling in on itself. I find it soothing. Today it was angry and attacking the house, a cycle I've become accustomed to when it devours several souls. They need time to settle and become local to their new environment. Black mist retreated as if sucked away. Cane in hand, I watched from my waiting room window. A half-spirit walked towards the house, untouched despite black mist ripping at it from all angles. Long, jagged thorns thrust, dug, and sliced at it. The half-spirit occasionally swatted it with two long claws extending from its wrists. This was a strange-looking being. It had a bony body with bull's horns extending from its head. Red eyes bled from their side, dripping down to its skeletal face. Its nose smashed, and a mouth wide open, exposing serrated teeth like that of a barracuda. The half-spirit got to my porch, black mist still trying to rip at it. I walked to the front door and opened it. Half-spirit shimmered. I could only see half of its form. The other half was in another dimension. Such is the power of a wraith half-spirit. It looked at me. I nodded. It stepped onto my porch, immediately transforming into a 16-year-old boy, thin with pasty skin. He had a kitchen cloth wrapped around his neck, stained with dry blood, his nose broken, and his hands extended at awkward angles. "Hello, Cody. I see you didn't need us to meet you in the Black Forest. I could see your house from there, so I came over. Hamish told me to come here. Is he here?" Mortimer came out onto the porch. "Hello, boy. Who's this?" Cody said. He walked over to Mortimer and stroked his head with the side of his hand as they hung limp from his wrists. "Mortimer, he'll show you inside." Mortimer went inside, followed by Cody. I strode out towards the black mist. It retreated, forming a tidal wave coming towards me. Thorns erected, all aimed at me. I kept walking along, tapping my cane on the ground every few steps. The cane sparked blue fire as the ruins on it glowed. Cane was a gift from an old Norse friend who had harnessed the power of a white dwarf star. I helped him out once, and the cane was a thank you. But that is a story for another time. The black mist wave grew over 100 feet high as it came bearing down on me. Cane in hand, I closed my eyes and focused, reciting a prayer. My grip tightened around the cane. Slam. I dug it into the ground. Blue fire ripped through the ground, tearing towards the wave. Smack. It cut through it like a knife through butter, evaporating a hole the size of a crater. Shrieks were heard. The rest of the black mist dispersed instantly. It still rolled and twirled, but it kept a good distance from the house. I turned and returned home to find Cody sat in an armchair, and Mortimer at his usual spot near the fireplace. Cody shimmered, only parts of him visible at any one time. "Do you know what you are, Cody?" The boy looked at me. "I know I'm not alive. It's why I'm here, right? Do you remember your parents?" Cody shook his head. "They didn't want me, I guess. Never met them. When a soul is born into the world, even if their mother did not intend the birth, she glows with love upon seeing her child. This adds a component to the soul, making it whole, sort of like a blessing of love and protection. This is what is called a full spirit. Unfortunately, this is not always the case. Some mothers despise their babies from the moment they are born. Thus, the balance is tipped against the child. That component is not added, therefore they are not whole. The child lacks warmth, love, and a glow of fate. Therefore, they are only half present. They don't possess qualities to attract a full life, as they are only a half spirit. A half spirit starts further down the ladder than a full spirit. This is why you're here. Full spirits rarely come to my house, simply because their vengeance is not a spark compared to that of a half spirit wraith. Do you understand? I think so. I got a raw deal. That's all, Cody said. I nodded. You recall what you did? He shimmered. I could only see segments of him, as his half-spirit can only anchor bits of him at a time on this plane of existence. I left my foster home at 16. Glad I did. My foster mum wasn't too bad, but my foster dad was a dick. I wanted to join the army. Didn't know much about it, but the guy online guaranteed me that I'd have 3 meals a day and a bunk to sleep in. I was up for it, but my foster dad refused to hand over my birth certificate to prove my age. Don't have a passport, so I needed that. I went to school and asked my English teacher, Mr. Plymouth, to help me. He did, but the school didn't have my birth certificate either. They just went on what the social worker gave them. Mr. Plymouth spoke to my foster dad. He denied having anything. Mr. Plymouth said we could get a copy, but it will take time, so I should get a job, and he'll help me find a place to stay. What else could I do? Mr. Plymouth managed to help me get this bedsit on an estate. It was a shithole. Cody looked out the window at the darkness beyond it. Yes, it is always dark here. I shook my head. Mister, it wasn't nice, but it was mine, and I was okay with that. My neighbor was his family from Afghanistan or somewhere like that. They didn't speak much English, but the parents were nice to me. The mother always came over and gave me food. I think they knew I didn't have much going for me. I was okay with that, for sure. Cody pressed the back of his hands on the armchair, as if for reassurance. You accepted your situation. A good place to progress from, I said. Cody shimmered, phasing in and out. He crackled, sparking. 2 huge claws protruded from each wrist. His face became skeletal, his form elongated with 2 claws extending from each ankle. Red eyes stared at me. Drops of blood fell from them. Damon, is he here? Cody said. He turned to me, pointing with his claw. Mortimer raised his head, eyes on Cody. Tell me what happened to your friendly neighbor. Cody dropped his claw to his lap. His form shimmered back to his human self. I didn't even know their names. They never spoke to me much, but they were good people. I saw Damon, the local gangster wannabe. Him and his pals were pouring petrol on their door. My neighbor's got 2 little kids. I mean little. A 4 or 5-year-old girl, and I think the boy was around 2. These idiots were setting the door on fire, so I went out there to stop them. I called the police in front of Damon. He gave me the slit throat sign. Cody smiled. He had a gentle smile, the type that emanates from within and warms your heart if you gaze upon it. That bloke's watched too many gangster films. He grinned, adjusting the kitchen towel around his neck. He marked me after being arrested by the police. First time was me coming home after working my job in rolling coffee. I'd only been there 2 weeks. It was hard, but I liked it. I got home that night. My bedsit was trashed. Everything I owned had been covered in dog poo and piss. They emptied a bin in my room. My bed smelled like an alley behind a takeaway. I know what they smell like because I spent a few nights in one before I got my bedsit. Cody shook his head. Worst thing was, they jumped me on the way to work. I got a few licks in, but they gave me a beating for being a grass. Damon kept me locked in his car boot for about 2 days. Only reason I got away was because his mate Casey let me out and told me to run. Cody wiped his eyes. Thing is, mister, I don't have anywhere else to go. Police told me to stay with friends or family away from the neighborhood. I don't have any of that. The police spoke to my manager, and he was a good guy. He said he'd hold my job open for me. He was decent, but he couldn't afford to pay me when I wasn't there at work. I get that. I wasn't working, so why should I get paid? I peered at Cody from my armchair. Did you think about self-murder? I said. What, to end up here with you? For all I know, this place is way worse than my bedsit. I smiled. I did think about it a few times, to be honest. But nah, not for me. If I'm gonna go, it's gonna be by something else, Cody said. I touched my hand on my heart and gave Cody a gentle nod. He returned the gesture. Damon got me. Cody gestured to the hand towel around his neck with his fingers. They broke into my bedsit when I was asleep. Casey and 2 others pulled me out of bed. Damon busted my nose. He kept kicking me in the ribs. I couldn't breathe. He kept kicking me. Casey held a towel over my mouth as they beat the crap out of me. One of the others cracked me in the head with a mug. I think I passed out for a few minutes. Cody held up his wrists, his hands flopping. I came to with 2 of them pinning my hands to the floor like I was being crucified or something. Damon jumped up and cracked his heel down on my wrists. Snap. Pain shot up my arm like it was on fire. Snap. Again. He did the same to the other wrist. I couldn't move. I was screaming, so Casey covered my mouth. I didn't even care. The pain was screaming from all over my body, but my wrists were the worst. I couldn't see straight. Damon made sure my head was held up as he burned my hair in front of my eyes. He told me he was going to kill me. Ha ha ha. I laughed. I told him to do it. Casey said I got balls, and the others nodded. But Damon was not happy. He told the others to hold me up. He asked me again, "Shall I kill you, little man?" I nodded. Cody looked at me. Mister, I didn't know what I was doing. Couldn't see properly. Couldn't stand up. I didn't even think about it. What he asked me. I told him, "Big man, show them." "Big man," I screamed. One thing I learned was when you're hurting, anger gets you going. I used it. "Show them," I screamed in his face. Cody pulled the kitchen towel from around his neck to reveal a deep slit on the side of his throat. Damon stuck me with a knife. Casey tried to wrap it when I fell to the ground, but the rest left. I watched Casey until I passed out. Cody wiped his eyes. Mister, I did wonder, lying there. Would I be there busted up if my mother wanted me? What's to wonder, Cody? She didn't. That's why you are here. Better to focus on that than think of what could have been. That road is endless. It is even more plentiful than the stars in the sky, and it is full of hurt. I would not recommend that for you. I died in a bedsit surrounded by rubbish. It still stank of dog poo and piss. That's where I woke up, like you see me now. I looked at my body on the floor. It could have been some other poor sod lying there. I didn't recognize me. It was this towel. Cody gingerly tied the towel back round his neck, using his palm and fingers to press it together. This made me change. Seeing me lying there, I had a crap time of it, but I was okay with it. But then this wannabe gangster, Damon, decided I was worthless. This tipped me. I looked at dry blood on the towel. My blood. Something crept through me, sort of like the vines you see rising up a wall. It went through me and it changed my broken hands into long, sharp claws. Didn't feel good at all, but I just didn't care what it did to me. I just wanted to tear him apart. Someone was at my bedsit door. Cody shimmered. He looked like a cubist painting. Mister, I didn't mean to do it, honestly. The door pushed open. Lady neighbor was standing there. She screamed when she saw my body on the floor. Slice. My claw cut through her. She stood there, no blood, eyes wide, staring at me. A second later, she collapsed. She just looked like she was sleeping on the floor next to the door, not a scratch on her. I had managed to cut her heart out without touching her skin. Cody looked at me. I was holding her heart in my claw. Only it looked like a ghost or something, not physical. I nodded. Half spirits can do much worse. Their missing component is replaced with the void. That's why you shimmer the way you do. You can pass through anything you choose to without resistance. You were able to pluck her sentience out of her heart and hold it. Dangerous, indeed. I didn't mean to. You saw her standing at your door and you took her heart. Cody looked at the flames flickering on the logs that popped and crackled. I saw her, but Damon's face is all I could think about. I had to claw it. I calmed down when I was holding her heart. It soothed me. Why didn't that feeling last? She was not your mother, Cody, I said. Huh, figures. That's why I took whatever was available. I didn't want to, honestly, but then Damon's face kept popping in my mind and the feeling I just lost took over. The little ones. I needed the heart. Damon's face kept popping up. I pressed a claw in the little boy's torso. He was so tiny. No, I said. I pulled it out. Mister, there was some of me still left, and I couldn't do it. I walked out, but the father came in. Ash Shaitan! Ash Shaitan! Ash Shaitan! He screamed at me, whacking me in the face. I couldn't feel anything, so I let him. He collapsed moments later, his heart shimmering in my claw. Ash Shaitan? Means the devil, I said. Oh, guess so. Now. I'm so sorry, mister, Cody said. Damon. Cody smiled. His eyes flickered from red to blue as he phased. I found him and his gang at their den. He was sat like a king surrounded by his subjects in a crappy lounge that was a bit bigger than my bedsit. I took one heart the second I walked in. Damon watched in horror. They tried to run, but I was too fast for all of them. I could keep them trapped there easily. Couldn't get past my reach. I made Damon watch as I ripped his friend's slice. I cut a wrist off and fed it to the other. He choked as I slit him up from his dick to his head. I didn't want to damage Casey. Crack. I broke his legs with a swift kick. Damon was backing into a corner, hands against the wall as if trying to back up further. I took my time with him. Oh yes. Cody morphed fully into a half-spirit wraith. He stood up and walked to me. I remained seated. Mortimer had his eyes open watching Cody. He growled, I could take your heart if I wanted to. You should be afraid of me, Cody said. That's the boy talking in a wraith's body. You have Damon's heart with you. Cody reached inside his torso and pulled out a small heart. It was dull, shimmering occasionally. He morphed back into his human self, heart still in hand. I'm sorry, it still takes me a bit to get a grip. Damon chose to be the way he was. He turned his back on those that cared for him to pursue violence and abuse. He was not born into it, and he certainly was not a half-spirit. Let me show you where you can deposit him. What happens after? Come with me. I strode out the door followed by Cody and Mortimer. We descended 2 flights of stairs to the sub-basement where I stopped. In front of me was a large translucent gate that looked like a vertical square piece of ocean that almost reached the high ceiling. Damon needs to go in there, I said. Cody looked at the gate. It pulsed gently. He will need to locate the rest of him and become whole again. Once he does, he will be shown where to go next. Do I go through here too? Find the rest of me? The bit my mother never gave me? Cody, beyond that gate is a primal energy as old as the universe itself. It is sentient and can tear through you without even noticing that it has. This sentience does not concern itself with good and evil or the like. It is far more terrifying than both, to be honest. The rest of me is in there, right? I nodded. There is a little bit of all of us in there. I want to go. If I can get some of what my lady neighbor's heart felt like, then it's worth it. And at least it will all be me. I touched my heart and gave Cody a gentle nod. I'll be here when you return. I pressed my palm on the gate. It flickered, igniting into a cerulean glow. Cody threw Damon's heart in. It disappeared without a sound. Thank Hamish for me, mister. I will remember you both, Cody said. He stepped across the gate. As the veil thinned, a sharp throbbing sound was heard, booming across the house. Screams and shrieks responded everywhere from beyond the doors. It cut to silence as the gate became still again. slowly pulsing as if on standby. Imagine what the universe sounded like when it first forged itself. That sound was a sample of that. It can be heard through all doors, penetrate all things. That's why all beings here fear the abyss. Cody, a half-spirit, was willing to go through the gate to realize himself. A noble soul. Hamish did well to find him. See you next Sunday at 11. I'll introduce you to another guest. Stay safe. Don't die in your sleep. Godspeed.